Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pondcast episode 11. We are very excited to have you, and we're going to actually get right into our first thing. We're going to, you know everybody, so everybody say hello, just so we can...
Hello.
Hey.
That's Tony and Steve. All right, so we're going to get right into it. I am John from theturtleroom.com, and we want to start... You have to be willing to give us a little bit of your imagination right now for this first part. So put yourselves, if you have to close your eyes or whatever you want to do, put yourselves in this position. You and a group of friends are traveling to, we'll say, Colombia to meet with a witch doctor, because that's where you go to meet a witch doctor. You meet him. He says, listen, I have this potion that I just made, and I don't know what it does, but if you want it, I'll give it to you for $50. You, being a huge nerd and being very excitable, he's a good salesman. You know how they get you to buy stuff, these witch doctors. You buy the potion.
The good ones do. Yeah.
Right. All the best witch doctors are good salesmen. That's got to be true, though. You and your three friends, you are three, so there's three of you. You and your two friends, Tony and Steve, all take a shot of this potion. What does the potion do? You feel very calm, euphoric. It tastes not good. It tastes like a lot of, there's been toads in it and things of that nature. It's very earthy. You fall into a deep, deep slumber, only to awaken, and you've traveled through time. Now,
okay.
How far back in time have you traveled? You don't know, but it's prehistoric. You're definitely prehistoric. So you look around for some dinosaurs because you figure that's the best thing or the thing most likely to kill you. The name of the game, you've been transported back in time. The name of the game is survival. Where's my next meal going to come from? You know, you're in the middle of prehistoric Colombia, the Amazon/Orinoco River Basin, with megafauna and megaflora, or big plants and animals. Now, you think to yourself, look for the dinosaurs. You have not seen any dinosaurs, but you're getting thirsty. So you decide, as all animals must do, you need to get some water. So you go down to the water, and you're a nerd, you're not a jerk here. You're looking around. You got your head on a swivel because you know that things that could be coming, and you don't know what they'll be. All right, now picture this. You slowly get to the water. You're lapping. I'm assuming you didn't bring a canteen to the witch doctor, so you don't have that on your person. So you traveled back in time and do not have a canteen or anything other in that general.
Where do we start? Colombia?
We're in Colombia, yeah. So you're assuming that you're in prehistoric Colombia because that's just the
Right.
physical mechanics of time travel. So you and your friends, there's some camaraderie. You're feeling good. You're excited because you're back in time. As you sit there, the least likely to survive is always the slowest, largest member of the troop.
I'm
Now,
done.
having said that, you traveled back in time with Tony, so you are in really good shape for not being the first one to die. As you're slowly sipping water, you see a slight disturbance, but it's far in the middle of the river. It's not. It couldn't be that close. There couldn't be an animal attached to that, and you couldn't be in danger from that animal because it's 3-4 meters away, what we want to say. What you don't know is under the water, in a slow, stealthy meat and shell tank, resides the giant side-necked turtle
Give it to us.
hold on. You would know it and immediately recognize it as Carbonemus confreni. Dun, dun, dun. Now, by the time that you've figured out exactly what it is, it has killed you. It's killed Tony. Tony is dead. He's being eaten by this side-neck turtle that, as you can see on our page right now, this is a brief description of it, is enormous. The shell alone is almost 7 feet long. With a side-neck turtle, they have the range. So he has struck at you with lightning quickness, and he just ripped Tony's head off. The head the size of a football. Just Tony's whole face in one thing. So you obviously feeling a little bit more secure now because Tony's dead and he's gorging himself on Tony's face. You decide to run, and as you run, what you don't see is, I'm trying to go for like a Jurassic Park, like the scary, like the velociraptors are here. Turtles do not hunt in packs, so you're safe from the turtle, but there's also a titanoboa has ever lived, and that's right down the road. Point is, coming back down to our present day modern time, is don't ever go back to prehistory in Colombia or anywhere. That's really what I wanted to say.
I saw that. Didn't the literature attached to that talk about how that largest snake ever was from the same period as the turtle that you're talking about?
I read it. I read a similar thing about a guy imagined them fighting, and he said that the turtle would win. Obviously, I mean that's kind of a given. Turtles always win races, fights, eating contests.
Seriously?
Yeah, well, because a giant snake, no matter how strong it was, you're talking about they're like 30 feet or 30 to 60 feet, depending, I think, on this snake or the biggest snake, and it's enormous, obviously, and weighs like 2 tons, but it can't crack the shell of a 1-ton Volkswagen-size turtle with the beak the size of a football that has the strongest jaws that they've ever found in a turtle, can really crunch down. I mean, you get bit with that thing once, you're dead, but I mean a snake has to strangle you. So interesting stuff. And the point of that, the reason that I brought you down that little lyrical voyage was to highlight this article that we showed you a little bit during that. They found that this is a recently discovered species. I believe it was discovered in 2005, and the paper was released in 2012. So just a little bit of turtle ancient history.
I thought that was interesting. Why did it take so long to release everything?
Because they just had to do all the paperwork and all that stuff.
Crunch the numbers.
Yeah, like they had to write the journal. Like you can't just say you found it. You have to do all the research on they found the skeleton, and then you do all the research, find out what goes to where and all that.
Yeah, imagine all the different pieces of bone that go along with a skeleton of something that big.
Right.
Matching it all up, putting it all together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Honestly, it's really amazing that they can even do that. You think about that. Everything that we know about like that period is from fossils, from these bones they're not even actually bones. It's rock that is solidified in the shape of the bone. But we can tell so much from that. My hats off to the paleontologists. I think that's one of the most interesting jobs. I want to do that, I think.
I always thought you were like Ross.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, if I had to peg you as one of the
one of the Friends guys, I was definitely Ross. Yeah, I hate it. Really.
Ross or Phoebe. I'm not sure. Ross or Phoebe.
I got a little Phoebe in me. I'll take that.
Yeah,
take
definitely. That. You're quirky. I would call you quirky.
Who are you? Who are you?
6'9" and quirky.
6'9" Courtney Cox.
Anthony's so big, he's Ross and Chandler put together.
Oh, thank you.
That's true. Just nerdy enough. Chandler, Ross combination. I can see that.
Either way, I'm not outrunning any dinosaurs. Can we all agree on that?
Very, very true. I love that. I heard that a while ago, that you don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than your slowest friend. I think I may have even said that before on the podcast. That's my favorite quote. That's why I hang out with Tony.
It's true. It's true.
So what's going on, guys? What do we got today?
Nothing much. What do we want to lead with, my friend?
Well, I mean, as a natural segue, I think that goes right into some of the interesting news stories that we've come up and wanted to kind of chat about. The first one being the John Virata piece on reptiles.com, reptilesmagazine.com, excuse me.
Yep.
I think we have a picture of that, right?
I know we will.
I hear frantic clicking from Steve's microphone, so
I don't know if it's frantic, but
there it is.
Yes, there it is.
So this is some interesting news. Tony, you wanna tell them a little bit about it?
Yes. Zilla has now.
reptile munchies. They get them too, guys.
I'm sorry, I couldn't even say it. Oh man, I ruined everything. I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's thought through some research done out in California that turtles, as I can read right in front of me right now, are more closely related to birds.
Don't do the thing like like people do when they're doing a PowerPoint presentation and they just
no, but I won't do that because they're related. See, this title is supposed to suck you in, but they're not just more closely related to birds. They're also more closely related to birds and crocodilians. As opposed to lizards and snakes. So
and dinosaurs.
And dinosaurs.
Don't forget, and dinosaurs.
Right.
Of course.
They're basically, them and crocodiles are literally living dinosaurs. They're still the same exact structure of bones and all that stuff.
And so are pigeons and wild turkeys.
Right. Well, that's
living dinosaurs.
You are like Dr. Alan Grant at your finest.
I tried.
I watched that last night, Jurassic Park. Did you see the new trailer for Jurassic World?
No, but I've seen the thumbnail for the trailer on YouTube and got really excited, yet didn't click the link.
Of course. Well, you don't have time. You don't have time.
I don't. I have too many turtle videos to thumb through and
Steve, did you see it?
Did I see the
Jurassic World trailer?
I did not.
God, I thought you guys were nerds, and here I am. Only one who's seen the trailer. I bet you didn't see the Star Wars trailer.
I did see that.
Okay, all right, you are a nerd. Never mind. Good.
I was just excited to see Chris Pratt as the lead in this one because
here we go.
He reminds me of myself so much. You know?
There what go?
Yeah, why'd Steve yell, here we go? Here we go. Here we go.
Nice.
You can actually watch a trailer on this?
There's no words.
You can't hear it. I can't project the sound through it. Oh, wait.
That's great. So Tony, you and me are going to narrate it. That's perfect.
Dude, this is amazing. This is just like
where there's large boats driving towards islands.
Yes. This is so good.
We'll could probably get in trouble for this, but I'm all right with it.
Hide your kids.
So I think that the idea of it is that Jurassic Park, they figured out the kinks, and it's kind of been going like. People are getting tired of just dinosaurs. It's been going for a long time. So they have to like do drastic things to change, but it's like, it's like beneficially, like what if the park actually worked? Like what if, you know what I mean? Like they figured out after the Jurassic Park 1, I don't know if they're ignoring 2 and 3, but it's saying, okay, this is what would happen if the park worked. And they moved along with it.
Right.
Well, you got to figure. You first, build Disneyland or Disney Park, and then you go to World. So it's obvious that the next thing after Jurassic Park is Jurassic World, because that's what happens when you get bigger.
Right. And like you said, Chris Pratt was in it, and I like that. I think he's really gotten large.
Yeah, and he gives hope to those of us who are reminded by our doctors on our yearly physical that we need to lose a little weight because he lost some, and he's quite a dreamboat now.
Is he overweight? He was overweight.
No, yeah. Originally, he was like a comedic actor who was like known for his fatness and
right. Well, like he wasn't known for his fatness. Parks and Rec
he was
fatter, but
he was sloppy though. He was known for his sloppose.
Right. I guess either way, he's definitely improved because now he's like Arnold. He's like getting the Dolph Lundgren Arnold. Those are the ones that they would have gotten. Those parts.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Right.
So the point is that it can be done. Let's say that. You can go from slob to throb.
I hope so. I've got one of my Vietnamese leaf turtles on a diet right now. And we're doing it together. So the diet.
A lot of What's in your diet? What's
Strawberries, blueberries, low glycemic stuff.
Oh, good.
Missouri pellets. So we're doing the same thing.
Careful, I don't think anyone wants to be associated with Missouri pellets nowadays.
Is that a Missouri joke?
Yeah, never mind.
I think he meant misery pellets, but you know.
Missouri, right.
Right.
Yeah, it was a pun. Okay.
Mhm.
Moving on. So
Too soon.
that didn't mean it like that. That's why I said it after. I was like, oh crap.
Speaking of sloppy, continue.
So what I thought was interesting about this article was how they found out that was that was the theory that they came up with, how they figured out that they were closely related to birds and dinosaurs, this being turtles, modern day turtles. And I thought it was a really interesting concept. Did you read anything about ultraconserved elements?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what they use. What that means, to my general basic knowledge, is that I'm really bad with DNA stuff, but it's like the basic thing that makes them ancestors, makes them similar. So like if part of the code that says that they're going to be living on the land or have 4 legs or eat this and be able to digest it, like those are the same in birds, dinosaurs, crocodiles, and turtles. Whereas we don't share those things, or we share less of those early basic kind of building blocks, and you share less and less as with everyone that you move apart with in the theory of evolution. So,
right.
I thought that was crazy. It's just amazing that they can break it down and do that. And I don't know.
Well, it's cool. It's cool because there's surprises there. So, but if you look at like the DNA, it kind of refutes so many interesting things that we always thought were truth based on like morphology. So if 2 things look alike, we just assume that they're really closely related. But a lot of times, DNA analysis can kind of turn what we think to be reality like on its ear and totally make everything it kind of just change everything, the way that everything's looked at. So over time, it's going to continue as we get more and more technology with it. We're going to continue to find things that were thought to be true for a long time to be not true. If we just showed up and dogs were the way they are, then they'd all be different species. But if you actually look at the DNA, they are all the same species that were created by man. So morphologically.
So every dog shares way more of its DNA code with every other dog than it does with any other living thing.
Right. Even though some dogs may look like a fox or
it's subtle changes.
Yeah, a Chihuahua and a Saint Bernard are the same species, which is just ridiculous. Right. Shows what captive breeding can do if you're trying to breed high yellow.
And in not that much time either.
No.
Only like a couple hundred years. A lot of the species that the breeds of dog that are changed entirely, and the whole breed is created.
Yeah. I kind of struggle when I'm watching it. I watch the dog show over Thanksgiving. My wife loves dogs, and like I kind of appreciate the history of like the breeds and everything and how they came to be. But at the same time, I just absolutely hate the snootiness and the fact that like these animals were created for human amusement.
Yeah, entirely for human amusement. Like these little critters are bred to bring you the newspaper in the morning. This is the New York Times Terrier, marched along by Cassandra and Todd Jenkins, the owners. It definitely has got a little... Turtle people would never do that.
Yes, they would.
We could not. No, you cannot do that. They would not dress up like that, and
I'm telling you. Listen, I've said it 1,000 times. What I appreciate about turtle people is that they're the most studied and educated, and they're the LL Bean models out of the reptile nerds. Okay, let's get that straight. They dress like they're going fly fishing.
In comparison to other reptile nerds.
They read books. Yeah, and this is, I'm totally hating on everyone, but I apologize, because anytime you make a general statement,
don't apologize.
You're wrong. But I'm just saying, we're the biggest nerds out of the reptile nerds. Okay,
but the reptile nerds in general are it's a crazy amount of diversity within that. The different types of people, like,
ain't that the truth?
You nerds, like really woodsy guys, bikers,
right?
Like people that are just like introverts that never would leave, like big showmen, people that just want to talk, like you, like that's what we saw. That we went to the White Plains Reptile Expo on Sunday, yesterday. And you could tell, just like walking around, you could see how different everybody was, and they were all interested in the same, like a little kid talking to an old man about it and talking about the same thing. It's very unifying.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But my point is this, right? We're the nerds, but if you look at like the classified ads and stuff like that, all anyone cares about is the morphs. So we do the morphs, the two-headed stuff, the pastels, which are, arguably... probably created by high incubation temperatures. So
well, that's so. And I didn't get to tell you this yesterday because I saw it after you left. The most expensive. What do you think? What animal do you think had the highest price tag on it at the White Plains?
Ooh, this is always a fun game. It's got to be a ball python, but maybe it's not because you're asking.
It has the word albino in it.
Take a guess. You both get. I'll give you two guesses. You're only gonna need one though, if you get it right.
very, very smart.
I'm working on my math.
Yeah, very good. I say ball python. It's got to be a ball python.
I mean, what kind? You don't know enough about
albino.
it.
No, ball pythons is not albino.
Ball pythons is way too many morphs.
It's like a ivory spinner.
Please keep going.
Lavender ghost-faced armless ball python.
It is armless.
It has no scales.
All right. So from what you just said, I can corroborate that the animal was armless.
But it has elbows, though. Is the weird part. It has elbows.
It does not have elbows.
It has forearm hair. That's why it's so expensive.
No, there is no forearm hair. Sorry.
This is one of those ball pythons that will do your taxes for you.
For the price tag, it better do my taxes.
It's a recessive genetic mutation. It's co-dominant. So if you breed one ball python that will do your taxes with another ball python that will wash your car, you create ball pythons that will do both.
Right, an indentured slave.
And that's where the big money starts rolling in.
Right. All right, Steve, what's your guess?
Oh, if it's in the ball python range, I wouldn't even know what to say.
It doesn't have to be. I'm saying that's your guess. What is the most expensive? I mean, obviously, White Plains. Have you ever been to White Plains, Steve? The White Plains show?
No, I haven't.
It's way more snakes, obviously, but
yeah, I figured. If there would have been an albino alligator snapper, I would have gone with that. But I don't expect there to be one of those up there in White Plains.
No. Don't say it like that.
So I'm gonna go with some wild and crazy ball python morph, but I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think they pull some of these terms they use for these morphs, like they just yank it out of the butt and say, hey, let's put this term on a snake. Like, where do they come up with this stuff?
It's the mixtures, and every time you create something new, you get to name it.
A pumpkin ghost, maroon, spinner, ball, python.
I'm going to let you guys keep hating. Do your thing. Keep going. Say what you guys say.
We're guessing. We don't know. We don't like something.
I really have no idea what on earth it could possibly be, because I just don't know, especially the snakes. I just don't know them well.
All right, so you're close. Well, I'm going to end the suspense. What it was one of the first round of albino Brazilian rainbow boas.
Oh, interesting.
So they've been trying to get these for a long time, and there was three. This guy that had three of them. He had two that were just regular, that were het for albinism, and one full albino Brazilian rainbow. And
how much?
That was my next question. So guess how much the first batch of albino Brazilian rainbow boas was going.
You talked to him about it?
I very briefly. I didn't really.
Was it Bartek? Was it the guy from VHB that I told you about that was huge?
No. Nope. He was up on the top. He was up on the thing. We walked right by him when I was with you.
Really? Did you ask Brian Barzik if he wants to be on the podcast?
No, not a great time to discuss it either.
Okay. Just making sure. I just want to call you out in front of everyone that you said you were going to do that.
I did say I was going to do that. I was with my dad. He started walking around like I didn't have time for business. I was busy having his commentary on chameleons. I had to pay attention to that stuff.
They're just so neat.
No, they're upside down. Isn't that weird? It was $32,000.
Oh, that's not that bad.
For the full albino.
For the full albino, yeah.
What were the hets going for?
15. I didn't take a picture of that. So I don't know. I don't remember. I want to say it was in the 20s. It was something. It was 15. Wow. 15 to 20.
Wow.
Right. And you wouldn't even if you had a het. You would need. It would still be so many. You would have to have another. You'd have to have two hets to get one quarter.
You can buy a new car for that.
I know. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. 30. I texted my fiance. I said, "This snake costs more than our wedding."
Yeah.
30. It might have been.
We could have had our wedding 3.5 times for that.
Yeah. I mean it's crazy.
Hold on. You spoke to the guy?
No, I just in passing. I didn't even really talk to him. It actually was 35. I just looking at the picture. See, but I just texted you the picture. I don't know if there's a way we can get that up. I don't know.
Yeah, I can get it up there if you give me a minute.
All right.
Because I'm just wondering if they are actually the first ones. I'm sure they're not the only ones.
No, they're not the only ones. There's the first round. This is the first generation.
Yeah, it's still new. Yeah,
it's not the only one alive.
Right. Like albino alligators. They've been being bred for a few years, but they're not really big yet.
Right. They're still. It's rare to see them at a show for sure.
Right.
But honestly, it's one of those things that I don't like it. I mean, you take away from what makes the Brazilian rainbow a beautiful snake. It's the colors. That's why I don't. And I've never been big on the morphs. I know everyone has their, they're interesting and everyone has their time with them, but it's just not my thing.
Well, it's an important part of it, though. It's an important part of it, and you have to understand that a lot of people that are new to the hobby or just really like the look of morphs because they do look awesome.
Right.
That's what they like. Yeah, and it's cool. I totally get it. What's cool about ball pythons is you can get all these different rare pythons, but at the same time, it's a ball python.
Right.
It's still the best pet snake to have. So you know how to take care of it. It's easy to take care of. It's easy to breed. It's easy to keep happy, so it's still a great pet. So that's what I think. I think that's what draws people in. Is a Brazilian rainbow boa is still a good pet, but now you can have the world's wildest Brazilian rainbow boa. So I totally get that. As someone who has got a lot of who's bought or received a lot of rare species and had them die on me because they're new to me, and I'm trying to figure out their husbandry. If you've had Brazilian rainbow boas for 20 years and you get an albino, you know how to take care of it.
Right.
That's just my take on it. That's wild, though. I've seen ivories on fauna, but I've never seen an albino.
I mean,
definitely not in person.
Yeah, no. And you can see there's a picture up now that is. It's definitely. It's pretty cool. I mean, I think that it looks cool, but it definitely. Something is taken away by the fact that it doesn't have the the beautiful, the striking, the orange and the black that is Brazilians are known for. I didn't know. I couldn't really see that it had the iridescent skin either. It may or may not have had that. I don't know. So that's really cool. Yeah, that's the snake, and I'm trying to I'm trying to get another picture of it. Actually, I took a few. So yeah. Did you have Tony? Did you have any interesting observations from the show while we were talking about it?
Yes, just the fact that it's all snakes, all geckos, all bearded dragons. There's not much for turtles and tortoises, so I'm going to be a hater again, but lots of redfoot tortoises. The cool thing about the turtles and tortoises is that, or not cool thing, depending on how you look at it, they just had a ton of things that get imported often. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, proceed with caution. I don't know if I want to buy a tortoise from a container that has a bunch of recently imported Forsten tortoises kept with a bunch of recently imported redfoot tortoises. But
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not a turtle and tortoise show. It's definitely more geared towards the snakes. Again, there was a couple.
it was good though, because I hadn't been there in about 3, maybe 4 years, so it was good to talk to people. And John makes fun of me all the time for
Schmoozing.
well, I don't know what should we call it though. The blank celebrity. Is there a different term we can come up with that for?
Yeah, Tony is a pioneer in the crummy celebrity department, so he is.
I was gonna say crummy.
Crummy is good. I mean, it's not the word that needs to be used, but I think you can figure it out. It begins with an SH sound. It is sharky. Now, it's the phenomenon of you're not famous, but some people recognize you, and you're talking about the people that recognize you are not like hot young chicks. They're like older guys. Like that's why like people will. It's pretty cool. People will invite Tony to come talk at like a forum or a show or whatever. But that person is probably going to be a nerd. Let's just use the word that we're all thinking.
Well, I'm a nerd, so I enjoy the
crummy celebrity. No, exactly. I mean, wish nerds would want to hear me, but unfortunately, there's 0 groups. I'm under you in the crummy celebrity department. Nobody recognizes me.
0 celebrity.
Yeah. Literally nothing, no celebratory aspects to my life at all.
But it was cool though. It never happens at Hamburg though, where someone like sees the shirt and knows what we're doing. No, but I think that's the cool thing about White Plains. There's a lot of people there who check out YouTube videos and stuff like that. Not that there's not at Hamburg, but it's just different. I thought it was cool though. That part of it was really nice and reminded me that maybe I should be stopping by that show a little more often just to kind of get the mission out there, because there's a lot of herpetoculturists that visit that show.
Right. Agreed. And it was a cool thing. Definitely big ups to White Plains. I thought I had a good time, and I thought that it was cool for you guys. Someone recognized you as, hey, you're the guy. What did he say to you?
He said, hey, you're the guy who breeds Spangler eye. And I said, oh my God.
Spangler, yeah.
I love you.
It's a cool one. I can't even hate. I can't hate on you for that. It was good. It was good.
I said, oh my gosh, I love you. But I will say the White Plains show too, especially after going to Hamburg so often over the past half a decade. Really nice venue, tons of space, really clean, really comfortable temperature. Everything was really, really nice. So, and I know I had been there before, and a lot of people from the Northeast have been there before, but it's just a good show. It's a good show. I can't totally hate on it just because there's not a lot of Colonian species there, turtles and tortoises there. I can't totally hate. Just a little bit.
Agreed.
Just a little bit.
Agreed. So big ups on the temperature control, White Plains County Center. Good for you. Tony approves.
When you're 340 pounds and can't outrun dinosaurs, you want to be in a comfortable temperature that doesn't make you sweat in the underarms. Especially if you want to, cash in on your crummy celebrity.
Right. Right. That's why you don't want to be, hey, you're the guy who breeds Spangler eye and has terrible, terrible armpit stains. That's the guy you want to be. You gotta, once they do recognize you, you gotta impress, and you gotta be on top of your game.
Oh, John.
So I think we're gonna move. We have a question, I believe. Is that are we able to answer that right now?
Yeah, we do have a question from a viewer. Nick has a question.
What's up, Nick?
All right, just Nick, pipe him in. Nick, where are you calling from?
Wish we could do video or audio. Anyway,
long-time listener, first-time caller. How you doing? Go ahead,
We've got Nick on YouTube. He says, "Hey guys, can you answer my question? What is your opinion on the pet stores, and he specifically mentions one of the big box stores. But what's your opinion on them having wild-caught Russian tortoises and selling them?
That's a really good question, Nick. That's cool.
That is a good question.
If we keep this up, we don't even have to plan what we're going to talk about in advance. I think it's problematic. I think that we've seen so much over the course of even recent history where a lot of species that weren't that rare have become rare. And you know, a lot of testudo animals from that genus are being shipped around and in pretty large numbers. So even though it's legal and it's been sustainable so far, anytime that's happening, just to be, you know, these animals are come in, they're brought in, they're not necessarily dewormed, and they're just sent to live in, you know, aquariums in people's houses that don't necessarily know much about tortoises. They just want a tortoise. They just want a turtle. They want an animal with a shell. It might as well be a snail or something. They don't really know the difference. So I think that's the issue. I don't worry as much about like hingeback tortoises because the bushmeat trade and stuff like that in Africa is really rough on some of the Conyxi species. But I think with some of the testudo animals, it's tough to justify that because they're not worth much in the trade. So they're just being brought in big numbers just to fill the need because it's legal. And that goes to show you why the 4-inch law is kind of a crock, because now people are filling that void with these imports that aren't really a great choice instead of smaller animals that might be a little easier to handle, like a stink pot, for instance, which makes a better pet and will stay small and manageable and would do well in a 20-gallon long aquarium, whereas a Russian tortoise will just be miserable for the rest of its existence. Sorry, I didn't mean to take that and run with it.
No, I think that's good. And I think you're very right. I think that it's definitely an irresponsible thing. I would like to point out as well that during that, I wanted to see if I can get anything quick on the web. So I Googled wild caught Russian, and it automatically filled with naked woman. Wild caught naked Russian woman was what Google suggested I search. So I don't know who's been searching that, but anyway, I get some interesting points and a good question. I just can't imagine who was Googling wild caught Russian woman.
You think you've got it bad? I use this computer at work, and I have a client who's from Ghana, and he's always watching like appropriate Ghana YouTube videos on the computer. So every time I'm on like Tortoise Forum, the ads that come up are like for women from Ghana, like mail order or whatever. I don't know. I'm sitting there like on the computer looking up turtles, and my wife just constantly sees like this array of beautiful African women across my screen in all parts of the web page. I always look. I'm like ashamed to be looking at tortoise forum. So that's what I've got going on.
Well, sometimes you should be ashamed to be looking at tortoise forum, but only just because as often as you look at it. I don't think there's anything specifically wrong with that. So this time, for the record, as far as bringing up Women of the Night, you did it this time, not me. I didn't bring that up. Yeah, you. Never mind.
He doesn't mean women from Ghana. He means.
No, I mean
mail order.
Hiring a woman. You said mail order brides, yeah.
Right. Got it.
We wanted to show you a couple of other pictures from the White Plains show. Steve has got them queued up. We're gonna bring some of those up real quick.
Good idea. White wedding. Nice.
Yeah, so that's one of those morphs. That's a Cuban rock iguana. I just think those are cool. Do you know how big those get, Tone? Any idea? Cuban rock iguana?
Couldn't tell you.
I think that they're smaller than regular iguanas, but they're very, very cool looking.
They're thicker. Like I'm reading Peter Pritchard now, and he talks about how thick the land iguanas in the Galapagos are. How stocky they are.
Nice.
As opposed to the ones from the trees.
So that was one of those Brazilian rainbow boas, that's a little bit duller than most, and they get a little bit like kind of softer coloring as they get older. But I mean, those colors are just so much better than the albino. That's just
that one's 20 grand, 20 large.
It
Yeah,
says
it is
pair.
20.
The pair is 20 large.
right. He had a pair of two het that were, that would make again like a quarter of your litter be albino. Is my understanding of the genetics.
Yeah.
I'm not really positive on that, but
20,000 sounds like a lot of money to take a butcher's word for. You know what I mean?
yeah, you
Like,
gotta
yeah,
stick your head up that cloaca yourself.
Like, yeah, I promise this is het.
Right. Yeah. The het always scares me. I would just put, if I was selling it, I would just put everything. It's het for all that stuff. Yeah. Just breed it, and you'll be good.
Steve Rosen talks about messing with people all the time. I shouldn't say that on here, but not many. Just jokingly, of course. But like, if he like sell a bunch of his Galbinifrons, but have them spayed or neutered first.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
These are going to be great breeders, man. Here you go.
well, it's one of those things that you can. How do you don't know if unless you only
No.
get 3 babies, you don't know if it's het. It could possibly be het.
If I was a bad person and I had an albino Brazilian rainbow boa, which, let's face it, I think half of the herpetoculture movement is questionable characters. So if I had the albino, I would buy a bunch of regulars and then sell them all as hets for $1,000. But you can have the albino for 30 grand, but you can have
Right.
any of these 700 hets that I have.
Right.
Just saying.
Well, and somewhere down the line they are het. That gene is in there somewhere. It's, you don't know.
Yeah. They're heterozygous, so you know.
This this picture is a Central American box. I think it's Honduran. That was just one.
What is that, Steve? Man-eye?
Not if it's the Honduran. The Honduran is in Siza.
Oh, I knew you'd know.
I don't. That's what he said written on the thing. I didn't talk to the guy.
And from these pictures, it's really difficult to tell. I like the.
We're not to say box.
Too much of the carapace or the top of the head, so hard to say. I would guess they're most likely man-eye, which most people just call the Central American as opposed to Honduran. But
that's what he said, Central American, and then he had. I think he did one of those things like, oh well, it's Honduran. It's much rarer. It's one of those.
Right. Yeah.
Or I know a lot about it. I know where it was imported from 2 days ago.
Well, these guys I caught in Honduras. I was at the pictures.
Who named that first ball python? Billy Idol?
I cannot hear anything.
Probably a Billy Idol fan.
Oh.
The white wedding one? No, I got you. Good one.
For a white wedding. Do you think, John? Do you think your fiance would like to pay $900 for a white wedding right now?
I think that's what we thought we were gonna do. Well, you know how that goes.
What an idiot! For anyone who doesn't know,
so-
Steve and I are married, and John is getting married. So we're all like, "Watch out, brother! Think twice, man." No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally. I love you, honey. My wife is the best, and I'm just kidding.
You know who's the best? Steve's cat. I'm really digging watching him back there. It's really, really enjoyable. He's really getting in on himself. He's licking away. I like it.
Yeah. He's a bather, that's for sure.
It's bath time. Bath time at the turtle room. You should know too that Steve actually broadcast from the original turtle room. That's where we got the name from his lair there.
It was originally known as the cat room, and then they changed it. It wasn't as popular.
Everyone bathes in there. Cats, turtles.
Steve
Sometimes.
Did raise a couple hatchlings in this room. There's no turtles in this room currently, but my 2 Barbers Maps lived in here for about the first year of their life before they got a little too big.
Lisa cracked the whip on that. No way.
Well, that's part of it. She was tired of having turtles upstairs, and she also wanted a place to put a desk. So her desk is now where the turtles had been. But
Turtles upstairs. That'd be a good name for the podcast if we wanted to have like another Another title.
Turtles had to move for the desk. I've heard it 100 times.
We need room for a desk, honey. We want to get to this second article. This is actually a really good article. It's kind of a, the reason that everyone does this stuff, the reason that we do this stuff is because of articles like this. So, Steve, you can pull that up. The giant tortoise population of Hispaniola, one of the Galapagos Islands, has completely turned into a self-sustaining breeding population. So
it's amazing.
Good job, those that worked on that. I mean, this is a really big deal. Obviously, the Galapagos tortoise we've talked about before. It's it's really in the forefront of conservation and just kind of it's a very important species, and all the subspecies are all everyone recognizes Galapagos tortoise as one of the poster children for the conservation efforts. Lonesome George having died recently, it's nice to have this happen so that we have, we lost one of the minor islands. I think Lonesome George is a La Pinta. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so, yep.
Yeah, so this is like one of the bigger Galapagos islands geographically, and it's amazing work. They and re-released, and they had a lot of populations with troubles in the populations with they couldn't get food because their main food source was cactus pods that fell during the dry season. They fall and they would eat that, but goats were introduced. Like, who introduces, of all the animals to introduce to like a beautiful island, like I'm going to bring some goats? Those guys were idiots, the people that whoever brought a goat first time to the Galapagos Islands. But they had eaten all the underbrush that supported the cactus growth, which supported the Galapagos tortoise population. So they got some people to bump off the Galapagos goats. I wonder how long does it take? How long do you think it takes for a species to develop on its own like that? How long until there was a Galapagos goat?
Oh,
Probably would have taken a while.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
I don't think those goats would have had much reason to adapt the way they were destroying everything in their path.
Well, they would have died. They would have just eaten everything and died. So
they'd be like a
goats.
Tank.
Find a way.
Just the right. Very nice, Jeff Goldblum. Just the right amount of guppies in a fish tank will survive, and they'll continue to repopulate as adults die off. But only so many survive. It's not just going to continue to populate and populate as long as as long as there's a limited amount of food.
Right, because the population is bound to the amount of food. It won't.
And other factors as well. Like the elements or
but that's the most
predation or whatever.
For general population growth, a population cannot exceed its food source. It just won't happen. Everything will die.
Well, the Galapagos Islands are known for not having any large predators and not many humans for the vast majority of history up until like the 1700s. So that's why a tortoise
that's why they got so big.
Well, there were giant tortoises all over the world. There was a Florida giant tortoise as well, but there's evidence of a giant tortoise in Florida being cut open and cooked on its carapace. So there were giant tortoises elsewhere, but nowhere that man inhabited. So the same thing happened at the Galapagos Islands. But what's interesting is if you see those saddleback tortoises, that right there tells you that there are no large predators on those islands, or there weren't supposed to be, because they're wide open. You can get right in there, whether they're in their shell or not. You can't cover up all that flesh right under the.
So then a factor like that,
the nuchal scutes.
A factor like that, a predatory factor, would affect how large that population grows physically. Each one being like it makes them larger. That's why the Galapagos tortoises are still giant tortoises. They're still around because there's nothing to eat them. They're at the top of the food chain, but their population can't continue to grow because of the food source. So those are two separate factors.
Yeah, but they've also, on the majority of the islands, they were eaten to extinction or close to extinction by sailors that used to go out of their way to stop at the Galapagos Islands.
Right, because they can get them, and they have a lot living food source that you can sail across the world with and kill it when you need it. But it'll stay. Right. Interesting. But so that stuff. I mean, it's a small step, but
it's huge. It's awesome. It's the right type of conservation too. I mean, it's the right species on a subspecies on the right island, and it's done the right way. So we keep turtles and tortoises. We keep reptiles. We keep reptiles for years. So we're big advocates for captive breeding, and it's such an important thing. But it hails in comparison to this type of stuff. This is really what needs to happen, and it's great that the Galapagos Islands and Ecuador have been the type of place that can do that, because in so many other places where so many rare species are going extinct every day, that's not the case. So that's what I think makes this so awesome, is that they actually go out and hunt the goats, and they've hunted the goats on all the islands. And that's what they do out there, and that's what that doesn't happen in so many other places.
You see what I'm doing right here?
Hydrating.
Gotta.
Galapagos goat gone to extinction.
Did you just pour water into your lap?
I poured it all over myself. Yeah, that was dumb. I didn't want to get it on the floor. Hey man, that was for the goats. The Galapagos goat. May he rest in peace.
The goat, greatest of all time.
Any other thoughts on that? Any other thoughts on the Galapagos?
No, I just think it's awesome, man. I'm happy you brought it up.
We're gonna try to get some of these. Let's try to get Professor Gibbs on. That's what we're gonna start. We're gonna start plugging for this. We're gonna get people on here.
Professor Gibbs.
Professor Gibbs is one of. If you read the article, if you read the article that I had sent you, Tony, to prepare for this podcast, you would know who Professor James Gibbs was. I'll leave it up to the viewers to find out. Kidding, I'm messing with you.
I read the article.
Then why don't you reach out to Professor Gibbs?
Because you didn't reach out to Brian Barzik. I don't even know if I think that's his name. I don't even know if that's his name. I think that's his name.
I don't remember you saying that name. You said his name yesterday, and that was not what you said.
Well, I'm sure it's wrong. So for any of our listeners out there who now hate us because I can't pronounce names or think I know a name and don't, it's probably some name of some guy I went to high school.
No one cares about human names. You can't. You just have to pronounce the Greek and the Latin names right.
Anytime there's C's and Y's in a last name, it's just like it's up in the air, you know.
Right, and I never talked to him before because I'm nervous, because John's supposed to handle that side of things, and he blew it.
Whatever.
He's supposed to be the charismatic host of the show. Get it together, man. Gosh.
I am the charismatic host of the show. Don't you challenge me.
Can I ask you a question? Who hangs a calendar that close to a door?
It's all about being in the camera, man.
I know, and that low, too.
This is a great time for a plug.
Listen.
Great time for a plug.
Listen.
Everybody look at the calendar on the back of John's wall here. All right, that's the 2014 edition of the calendar. We have a 2015 calendar out now that you can go to our website, theturtleroom.com, head over to our shop and look for our 2015 calendar. We've actually made it bigger. Instead of being 8.5 by 5.5, it is 10 by 7, so it's a bit bigger in every direction. Photos are all high res, and you can get your calendar for $10. We'll have them at the Hamburg Reptile Show this weekend. We'll be hanging out with Chris Leone of Garden State Tortoise. So come visit us, get yourself a calendar, maybe buy a tortoise from Chris, and so those are our calendars. All proceeds go to support our website and conservation projects.
Steve, were we able to get more pictures? Like, I love this one with in the Christmas tree. Were we able to get more holiday and month themed photos in this year, or is it we're going basically for turtles?
There weren't really many themes. We didn't have Christmassy ones to use. Although you could argue that the October one is a great fall picture. We've got some really colorful leaves in there and everything. So.
That's
all right,
the
so
about this time.
October might be themed.
And the calendar.
Okay. Well, listen. The calendar is. And that's the problem. This one is really eclipsed by the size of my head, and any calendar that's smaller than my head is not big enough to see.
Can we just talk about the
gotta-
fact that that calendar is like 3 feet off the ground, but John is 6'9"? Like, who's
I'm sitting down, obviously.
who's turning the pages on that? Your cat?
Nobody. No, it stays on our refrigerator. I brought it in here so that there would be something behind me. Which obviously you don't need to do because your face is this close to the camera.
I do it on purpose.
All right,
Can
so
you hear me?
we wanted to get. We have a few more questions, Steve. Is that
We do have a few more questions.
Oh man, I love this.
okay?
We do have a few more questions. Colonian Dynasty, he just asked us to speak a little bit about Pacific pond turtles. And knowing Anthony's love for PPTs, I figured I'd let him talk for a minute or two on Pacific pond turtles.
Cool. I don't know where to start. I wish there was a little more of a specific question, but at the same time, I'm happy you brought them up. I love Pacific pond turtles. John, for you, Actinemes marmorata, or still considered Emmys.
Emmys by most crowds, yeah.
By many, yeah. Really cool species. Really drab species, but I think a lot of people who appreciate the turtles from the old Clemmies clad, which included the spotted turtle, the Pacific pond turtle, the North American wood turtle, and which one am I forgetting? The bog turtle. Really appreciate them because they're different than a lot of the species here. They also are amazing survivors. If you've ever seen our videos on YouTube, I have had the pleasure and agony of keeping a female Pacific pond turtle, which has had the worst shell rot that I've ever seen in my entire life. A hole through her plastron all the way into the body cavity where skin grew over, where the coalomic membrane kind of thickened into a skin, almost like a skin you'd see over like a chicken thigh, and it went in and out with respiration just like you'd see like on a lizard. And over 75% of her carapace looks like lava rock now because all of that needed to be debrided off because it had all rotted away. And the turtle is not only still alive, but is doing extremely well. It's amazing because you'd expect that this turtle would have died a long time ago, but she's still doing well. My juvenile female is still doing well, and actually I lost my male after quite a few trips to the vet. He had some kind of growth, which we had removed, and then he kind of went downhill fast after the procedure. So he is no longer here, but he suffered from a lot of the same.
Do I have water in my lap?
What's that?
Should I pour water in my lap for him as well?
No, you don't have to. I'm sorry.
I'll do it on there.
You don't have to pour water in your lap. But yeah, he suffered from a lot of the same shell rot issues that the adult female has, and they both came in together. So a lot of really abnormal situations going on with that pair. The juvenile is doing great and is in perfect shape. So that's pretty much the update on my trio. But yeah, an amazing species, and there's a lot of research done on them. Not as much as as far as North American species, not as much as obviously red ear sliders or western painted turtles, but there's a lot out there. If you actually look for stuff, there really is a lot on them, and it's cool because you can kind of read the differences between different populations. Some populations grow larger and lay eggs at different sizes. So there's actually a lot of variation, even though there's no longer a recognized subspecies. It used to be Actinemes marmorata pallida, which is the southern form, which stays smaller, but they're not considered separate subspecies anymore. But make sure that you only breed Pacific pond turtles from similar locations, because it is very probable that there will end up being 2 or even 4 or who knows how many subspecies in the future, because they're a lot like their closest relative, the European pond turtle, which now has like 13 subspecies and a separate species, the Sicilian terrapin. Emmys.
Which are
Emmys,
what were some of the possible? What are some of the possible species subspecies breakdowns?
I saw 4 that were proposed, but like I said, there were officially 2 before, and right now there's no subspecies that are recognized. There's arguments on that, just like there's arguments between actinemies and Emmys. So,
And
sorry, I
there will
didn't mean
be
to take
for
the
a
long.
while, probably.
No.
Yeah, it'll probably never end, but I'm sure in our lifetime we'll see it change to more subspecies and then probably change back again before it changes again. Who knows? But we look at all this, in such a in the moment type of approach, but really it's over the long haul. I mean, we're all young guys. In our lifetime, we're going to see things change a lot. Decades ahead of us.
Indeed.
What else we got?
What?
All right.
We have up on the screen there. Oh, we took it down.
Yeah, I just popped. You want me to put it back up?
Put it up real quick. Yeah, let's just so that you guys can look. This is our over at the TR room. We like to call it. This is one of our species profiles on the Pacific pond turtle.
The TR room.
The troom. Photos.
That's my juvenile female right there. That photo's a couple years old.
So yeah, there's to have a better update there for you, loyal viewer. Those are a couple of pictures of the actual turtles we're referring to. Do we have more questions, or?
We do have a couple questions. We also another viewer. Let me get his name up here. His YouTube name is Spinoraptor. He asks, what is the most outstanding turtle morph you have ever seen?
Well, Spinoraptor, I once saw a white wedding, red-eared griffin python. That was the craziest.
John, you are so dumb.
Tony,
and I mean that with love. You know that.
Take it away.
Well, if you're talking about what we've seen on photo or in person probably just an albino snapping turtle, which go for about 8,000 right now. But on photos that I probably wasn't supposed to tell anyone about, I've seen photos of albino Pangshura tecta, which what's the common name for that? Is that a tent turtle?
Indian roof turtle.
Roof turtle. Okay.
Yeah.
Pangshura tecta. So yeah,
Nice.
Pretty much one of the most amazing looking turtles or tortoises or reptiles on the planet in albino. Relatively impressive. Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
I'm always was a fan of, and I'm generally we've talked about this a bunch of times. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of of morphs, but what I did like was the caramel pink red-eared slider. I still think that's the coolest with the eyes. I think that's, for me, the coolest one.
They're a cool turtle. They're really a lot of the albinos kind of take a little while to kind of find their footing, so to speak. Not really with ambulation, but with like feeding and stuff. They need to smell for their food a little more than see it, and they usually get it, but it takes a little while. The caramels are hardy turtles. They're just like any other red ear sliders. So that's what I appreciated most about them. Also, the fact that they have an eye like they're from a James Cameron movie. It's pretty sweet.
Right.
What else you got, Steve?
All right. Somebody just wanted us to talk a little bit about the Hamburg Reptile Show coming up on Saturday, and we kind of mentioned it a little bit. This is one of the big ones across the country. People come in pretty regularly for Hamburg. It's nothing like Daytona, but
Well, I've been to Daytona, and please, if you're listening, Wayne Hill, I apologize. I mean no disrespect, but I really like Hamburg. It's a very unique It's a very unique experience, and not only can you buy hatchling turtles there, but you can also they have venomous snakes there, and I believe it's in Stolen World. It might be Lizard King, but I think it's Stolen World. They talk about the Hamburg Reptile Expo and how cool
Stolen World. Yeah.
It is Stolen World. Where I believe Hank Molt had a comment about it that like a 16-year-old could go there and buy a cobra for like $30 or something. Like that's I'm sure I'm butchering that quote, but I'm just saying that's what's so cool about the Hamburg show. And I know it's not like that now, but this was back years and years ago, that comment, but it really is. You're so close to some of, some really unique stuff that you won't see, that you might not see ever again in your life. If you're talking about turtles, last time recently, I should say, when I was there, we saw a four-eyed turtle there. We saw Chinese bighead turtle. We saw Vietnamese black-breasted leaf turtles. These are all turtles that are rare, even at reptile shows. So there's a lot of cool stuff there in a very small venue. Is the one issue. So you're definitely gonna like bump into people when you go, but it's worth the trip.
And speaking of bumping into people, please feel free to recognize if anyone is listening. If you're gonna be there and you can you'll see us together, the two largest Americans that you know. Please, it would be devastating to Tony's ego if you walked up and recognized me. Please do that. I know you want to talk to him. Okay, I get it. I know that. But if you can come up and do that for me, that would go a long way for the tallying of points that's continually going on in our friendship. But actually, how many of us? At least the three of us will be there from the Turtle Room. Is there going to be any other guys coming up, Steve?
Not from our organization, but there's always plenty of our friends there. Chris Leone, who I'll be vending with. He's a good friend of the Turtle Room. He's a partner of ours. We've worked on numbers of projects together. He's contributed to our species profiles. He and I got the Western Herman's Tortoise stud book off the ground a little more than a year ago. So, yeah, Chris is a big-time partner of ours, and we love working with him. So it'll be a good, fun day there to hang out with Chris.
He's just a great dude, too. Great dude. Loves to answer questions and take the time to help people. And if you're looking to buy a tortoise, or he does keep a lot of, he does breed a lot of turtles as well. Top notch. Steve and I have been out to his facility in New Jersey, and I mean, this guy knows what he's doing, and he has healthy animals. And,
when did you go to New Jersey?
June.
I didn't tell you about that because I was driving right through New York, and I didn't want you to be mad at me for not stopping by to say hi.
It's probably better that you didn't say anything and it came up on the air. But what would I know about that?
That's not smart water. It's vodka. Any other questions, Steve?
And then another viewer, and this is right up your alley.
Yes.
He rattled a couple of them off, but he was like, what about Galapagos or musk turtles? And then he said, what about the Madagascan tortoises? And I was like, there we go. Right up Anthony's alley. So he just wanted you to talk a little bit about the Madagascan tortoises.
Sure, yeah. So Madagascar has 4 of the world's rarest tortoise species. There's no other way to say it. The smaller ones are not as commonly sought for food. They're not much of a meal, but some people will take like the spider tortoises to the black market so that they can puncture their shell and eat their liver. So that seems kind of wasteful. But Madagascar itself is such a poor country. Even though there are some tribes that feel that it's taboo to eat tortoises, there are more and more groups that are kind of realizing that they can make a lot more money gathering and selling tortoises than they can pretty much doing anything else in Madagascar. And when you consider that they're burning their entire island to make charcoal, slash and burn agriculture, then that pretty much tells you the story in the plight of the tortoises on Madagascar. So, I mean, they've got the plowshare tortoise, which now with the death of Lonesome George has become the rarest tortoise on Earth. With most often you'll hear the number at 400 animals in the wild. Then you've got the radiated tortoise, which is arguably the most beautiful tortoise on the planet, which the numbers are dwindling extremely fast. And they can be tough to get your hands on in the United States, even though they're bred quite readily. They're on the endangered species list, so you can't get them without a CBW permit, which we now have. We don't have any radiated tortoises, but we have a CBW permit, so it's only a matter of time, right, Steve? And
That's
then,
great.
and sorry, I didn't give you a chance to answer. And then they also obviously have the spider tortoise, Pyxis arachnoides, and the flat-tailed tortoise, Pyxis planicauda, which are two species that I keep. And they're amazing. They're definitely amazing tortoises. And I find it so fascinating every time I see a special on Madagascar on TV. And I mean, lemurs are great, but then they get to the reptiles and it's it's chameleons and stuff like that. They won't even give you a taste of radiated tortoises, which I think anyone can appreciate. But I guess that's just my opinion.
All right. Well, there's the answer to your questions. Please, I think we're gonna wrap things up now. Just to note, we wanted to go shorter, but we just kind of get carried away. So, sorry for the tangential rants, but we're very happy that you tuned in. Hopefully you're still listening. We're going to just show you, please pop over to the turtleroom.com. You can take a look at a lot of the stuff that we have there. Will probably be of interest. There's a lot of photos. There's a lot of species profiles, a lot of other educational resources. So please pop over there. Look for the guy with the big eyes. That's the head there, the headliner there. Anthony at theturtleroom.com, Steve at theturtleroom.com, John at theturtleroom.com. Questions, comments, concerns. You guys are the best.
Thank you so much.